beautiful souls. It's Robin, and you're listening to the Live Life Balance podcast. I'm so excited that you dropped by today, prioritizing you and your wellness. This podcast is for my empty nester mamas, women who are getting close to this new chapter, who have dipped one toe in, or who are fully embracing this new phase. This is for the mamas who are ready to take back their health, to live their best lives. If you're looking for an authentic, supportive community, you're definitely in the right place. It's a space for us to learn how to prioritize ourselves again. I'll be your guide, pointing you to ideas and tools that you can experiment with to see what feels good for you. You'll also hear guests talking about their journeys and what's worked for them. Together, we're going to learn how to use the 1% shift method to create little shifts and habits that, who knows, maybe become your non-negotiables to feel your best. By feeling our best, we can show up in our purpose and live the most joyful life, even in the challenging times. And boy, this new chapter can seem challenging, but I can assure you we're not alone. Some of the topics we're going to talk about are self-love, self-care, nutrition, daily toxins, food swaps, mindset, and reframing our thoughts. I hope you leave each time feeling a little more empowered and at ease to take a step or two that will allow you to shine. Are you ready? If you said yes, take a nice deep breath and say, I am ready. Now let's get into it. Hey, welcome back. Today we're going to have Paula Schuster on. She is a leader, a teacher, a mom, a wife, and a business owner. She is a seasoned coach and a mentor with 25 years of experience, specializing in empowering individuals to achieve personal transformation and self-discovery. Through a combination of life coaching, Reiki, and sound healing, she helps clients cultivate self-love, uncover their purpose, embrace their authentic selves, and shed the conditioning that tells them and themselves what they should be doing and not maybe what they want to be doing. Her newest adventure is her podcast, and it's called, which I love this, it's called Scared as Fuck and Doing It Anyways, Showing Up Authentically, and it is launching in January. So you guys definitely need to go over and take a listen to that. We talk about on the episode why she named it that. We talk about authenticity. We talk about self-healing. We talk about her journey, which has been amazing. So let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to the Live Life Balance podcast. Today, I am super excited to have on Paula. We met in a class and we both have podcasting in common, but in addition to that, we have so much more in common. She's more on the natural route. She does integrative things to help herself live her most balanced and well life. And I really just wanted to have Paula on because she's got some wisdom that I think we can all take little bits and pieces with us as we leave this show today and apply to our life. And we're going to definitely talk about her podcast. But first, we're going to start just by hearing a little bit about Paula and kind of things that have gotten her to where she is today. So welcome, Paula. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm happy to be on. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm a mom, I'm a leader, I'm a teacher, I'm a wife. So that's some things about me.
Yeah, all the things, right? You're all the things to everyone and hopefully now to yourself too.
Yeah. And professionally, I am a self-love and authenticity coach. I'm a certified sound healer. I'm a Reiki master teacher. And so that's really like what I do now and a podcaster now because I'm about to launch my podcast.
It's just so exciting.
Yeah. But if
Can you talk a little bit, I heard you say that you are a self-love and coach. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of what made you go in that direction?
Sure. It's really my own journey, right? That's the journey that I've been on in the last, several years. And, I started off when I got certified as a life coach, I started off just saying I'm a life coach because I can really help anybody with anything. Because coaching isn't about me, it's about the other person that I'm coaching. And I don't have the answers for people. They have the answers within themselves. So, my approach is to draw the answers that people have already within themselves and draw those out. So I started saying I was a life coach because I just wasn't sure where I wanted my niche to be. And as I've gone further along on my own journey, I'm just like, okay, well, I didn't love myself for so much of my life. And I went through this huge transformation and all this internal work to love myself again and to really, show up authentically. And so that's what I feel like I can really help people with. And what I was noticing is the clients that were coming to me had a lot of those kind of similar threads. And so I just said, well, I'm going to call myself a self-love and authenticity coach now. So there
I
you
love
go.
it. And I think it's a story that a lot of people will resonate with, because so many women, I think, come to a point in their life where they realize that they haven't given themselves the proper amount of self-love or self-care along their journey, because we are all the things to everyone. And so, I often weave in self-care into integrative health, because wellness is not just food, right? Wellness is everything that creates a person to be whole. And part of that is loving yourself. And I think a lot of times women of our age, I don't actually know how old you are, but of midlife age, right? They come into this space where, they start to dig and investigate and uncover things. And, the midlife being, like the real time of when things come back to surface. And a lot of times it's because if you are a mother and your children have left, you now have some free space. And so when you're talking with clients or with people or with yourself, really in general, about self-love and, which includes self-care, what would be, two, three things, anything that resonates with you to talk about that you think is important for people to understand when they're looking at how to bring self-love back into, their being?
Yeah. Number one, put yourself first, right? Like we've been conditioned, especially as women, to not put ourselves first, to instead, take care of everybody else around us first and then get to ourselves. And really that needs to be reversed. The minute I started putting my self-care and the ways that I, need to take care of myself, my practices and things, as soon as I started putting those at the top of my to-do list every day, my whole life changed. Another thing I would say is to treat yourself and talk to yourself like your best friend or like you would talk to your daughter. Because, and I say that again from my own experience of beating myself up so horribly, for years and years. Like I treated myself so badly. And when I really recognized, what my thoughts were and what I was doing to myself, it took a lot of work to turn that around. And so it's being really mindful of that and checking in with yourself multiple times a day. And then the other thing is just, small steps can just starting with small steps can lead to big things and can lead to big changes in your life, but that's where to start.
I love all of that. I mean, all of that really, truly, I think can resonate with any woman that's kind of in this situation or in this time of life. But one of the things, that kept popping up as you were speaking is, in order for people to start working on self-love, right? A lot of times they have to figure out the backstory, what happened back then that caused you to create this story, because a lot of the things that we live are stories that we tell ourselves. But what caused us to make up this story in our head that we weren't worthy of the time, that we didn't need to put ourselves first, that we were less than important than the husband, the wife, the job, the this, the that, something along the way, somebody said something, however we were raised. And for everybody, it's going to be different. And I think that's the coolest part of being a coach with and working with people, is that getting to see everyone's different, unique stories, and helping them to bring them up into reality, and then to reframe all of that. Because like you said, talk to yourself like you talk to your best friend. I guarantee a lot of people listening to this episode have said some very not so very nice things to themselves over the years about a variety of things, but body shaming, why they're not in a good relationship, why their career keeps failing, all the things, they have these negative conversations, but they forget to go back and investigate maybe why.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very big on like flipping the story. But I love, that comment of treating yourself like a best friend. And I think as we start to do this hard work, because you are right, it is not what we're conditioned in society for these quick fixes. It's not a quick fix train. It's little steps by little steps. And I think that when people can get on board with that way of thinking and taking the very tiny, I call them 1% shifts, when they can do those little tiny things, you're right. They do see, they create a whole new life for themselves. And again, it's hard. It's not an easy fix. And so I think that's why a lot of people prefer to just stay stuck, right? They stay stuck in that cycle that they're used to because it's familiar to them, right?
Yep. And easier.
And easier
In some
sure.
ways. I mean, but when you really look at it, it's not, but yeah, it seems
very, very true. Yeah, exactly. It is in the moment, but in the long run, when you look back on, it really isn't easy. So that in itself right there, those are all mind-blowing little things that I think are super important when we are, talking about self-love. That is one component, right, to having a balanced life, to living a certain way. But there's other things that come up with creating those practices. And so one of the things I know you dabble in is like essential oils and Reiki. And so how did you stumble upon maybe a non-toxic lifestyle or things like that actually brought you, again, some awareness and then created a better life for yourself?
Yeah, it was really through. So I had been wanting to try essential oils for a really long time when I first got into them. And then a friend of mine, a good friend, she's a body worker, and I had started to see her because I needed some therapeutic massage work done after a car accident. And then we just got to be friends. And she started getting into essential oils, and she started just sharing some things with me. And I'm like, oh, I've really been wanting to get into them. And so, that was really my start. We used Young Living oils, and so she helped get me signed up. She helped me order my starter kit and get, which, you get, I think, 12 oils, and it really gives you a really good array of what to start with. And so that was the start of my journey with oils, I guess. And now, like, I can't live without them. Like, we were just redoing our budget, and I'm like, okay, I can bring this down a little bit more, but not too much, because I have my non-negotiables on the oils. So that was part of it. Yoga was definitely part of my journey, and
Reconnecting.
having a more balanced lifestyle. It got me out of my head and into my body, and just really started helping me deal with some of the stored emotions that I had in my body. And so that was a big part of my journey.
So can we stop there just really quick? Because for some people, they're very unfamiliar with what stored emotions are and, maybe how they get trapped, or even the concept of having emotions stuck. I think that's very foreign for some people. What has your experience been with learning about it? And then what results have you seen for yourself?
Well, we carry stored emotions literally at the cellular level in our bodies. And when I started doing yoga, like sometimes, like I would just be bawling afterwards, after an hour practice, whether it was regular sort of gentle yoga flow, or yin really brought it out, yin yoga. That's a practice where you're holding the poses for a longer period of time and working the smaller muscles and myofascial tissue. And so I would be either bawling or angry or going through some wild emotions, after that. And it was literally, removing them from my body, going through those practices. And that went on for a few months, at least, when I first started doing yoga. And
really, for anybody who has never practiced yoga or isn't of a belief of yoga as a practice, I think I just invite you to do different stretches and different poses yourself. They don't have to be yoga poses per se, but there is something therapeutic about holding a particular stretch in a certain way that makes you become present. And you have to focus on what you're doing. And therefore that helps with the release of those trapped emotions. And no matter what your life looks like, everybody has stored emotions from childhood. I know the big buzzword right now is childhood trauma, but trauma looks different for everybody. It's not just the massive trauma of being in a war or, having molestation or something. I mean, these are things where somebody said something to you as a young person, and even as an older person, that changes your belief in who you are. And so really allowing those things to kind of surface at this point in midlife is kind of one of our best tools that we have to healing and creating that life that we all want to have, which is health and wellness and feeling good in our older age, right?
Yeah.
So thank you, for bringing that up, because I think, again, those little tiny things that we take for granted now because we've been in practice or we know or we've seen the work, people who are just kind of dipping their toe in and not knowing all of these things, that is definitely something they can walk away with and try for themselves and see how all that works for them. But I think it's pretty fascinating that it creates the emotion to come so strong that you are mad, that you are, sobbing, that all of those things come up. So thank you for sharing that, because I think that's super important for people who are looking to heal themselves in a way and create a better lifestyle.
Sure. Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, it brings you into the present, and it's not just a physical thing by yoga and holding a stretch for, like you're talking about. It's mental, it's emotional, it's physical, it's spiritual, it's all of it.
Mm-hmm. I also think you're a Reiki master, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I had my first experience with Reiki, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I think, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. And that's fascinating in itself also, just because, again, it's the movement of energy. We are energy. We're like 99, I think, percent energy or something like that. And it's hard to envision like energy moving in the body, right? But we've all had like biology, we've all had physics, we all know like the law of like the cellular level kind of things in a basic form. But to think that we have like energy moving through our cells and our body, it's just an abstract thing.
Right.
However, when you go and you have like a session for Reiki or even like body talk and body flow or the lymphatic, all of those light touch type of things that have to do with energy,
Mhm.
it is fascinating. It was fascinating to me the first few times. I was like, that's wild. And I think for some people who aren't in that space, try it out and just kind of see. So what's your experience and how'd you get into Reiki, and, you know, where has that led you kind of on your journey?
Oh my gosh, Reiki has been such a huge part of my journey. It has helped me helped me heal in so many ways with my traumas, my conditioning. It has helped me heal addictions, all sorts of things. But the same friend who got me into yoga and essential oils asked me if I wanted to go on a retreat to learn Reiki energy healing. And it was, at this wonderful place that she had told me about. She had gotten her yoga teacher training certificate there. And, it's in Mexico on the beach, and like all these wonderful people are there. And so I said yes. And I really didn't know anything about it. And I had a huge awakening, and just like, yeah, I mean, I literally, when I was being tuned to Reiki 1, felt myself coming back home to me. And I had such a huge transformational, a powerful experience during that week. I was attuned and trained to all 3 levels. And that I mean, I couldn't even barely speak when I was leaving that retreat. All I could do was sob, and say thank you, and just, express my gratitude. But I came home a different person 7 days later. I didn't think the same. I didn't talk the same. I didn't eat the same. I didn't care about the same things or anything. And my family was just like, who are you? And I said, we're finding out, because just, I shed so much.
Oh, I love that. I just got the goosebumps.
Yeah. And I had such a profound experience. I'm like, how could I not share this with other people? So I came home from that retreat and I immediately started up my Reiki business. And then I went back and got my life coaching certificate and added that to my business, my practice. But Reiki is such a powerful yet gentle healer. And Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone who has been thinking about it or hearing about it and have had any sort of a calling, just go try it out, and experience it for yourself, because it can do so many wonderful things, and it almost seems unreal. So you just have to
Exactly.
experience it for yourself, really. Yeah.
100%. It's funny because a lot of times when I'm having conversations with ladies on different, tools that are not your traditional, I'm just like, it's hard to explain and I don't want to sell it wrong. I'm like, just trust me. You just have to try it and then you'll see for yourself, because I can't explain like whatever has happened inside of me. Like, I don't know how to explain to you because you haven't done it yet. But then once they do and they're like, we're like, doo 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 doo, it's like, how did that happen? How do they know that? What, it's like all the things. And I again, all these little modalities and things that we have available to us, they're not for everybody, right? They aren't, but you might as well give it a try, because what do you have to lose? If you're not in a place of balance and wholeness and feeling your best, when you discover something, a different type of tool or modality, you have nothing really to lose but to try it. And if it doesn't work, then you just kind of move on for yourself. And sometimes what I've noticed for myself is that sometimes I don't work because I'm not ready for it, because
Hmm.
my body isn't at a state where I can handle whatever change would actually come. And so it's like my body blocks, like it's not going to happen right now. So again,
Right.
we have to be gentle with ourselves. We have to take those very micro baby steps in order to be able to get sometimes to the next thing that's really waiting for us. Um,
Absolutely.
so I want to talk about your podcast. It's called Scared as Fuck and Doing It Anyways. And I think that title is amazing. And I wish I would have thought of that myself.
Thanks.
But I want to know like why you picked that title and what it means to you. And then just tell us, what your idea and your feelings are right now around your podcast.
Okay. Well, how I picked that title is quite a story. So I was in a podcast program, right, where they teach you how to create a podcast and do all the things. And I knew I wanted to do my podcast about authenticity, because again, that's really the journey that I've been on. And I'm walking more authentically now than I have in probably 35 years. And so I knew that. And so I was trying to pick a name, and I picked a name, and it was called Paving Your Own Way, The Road to Authenticity. And, I started working on my cover art and doing all the things. And I'm like, it just doesn't feel right. It seems kind of boring, because I kind of have a fiery, feisty personality, and I'm a Leo. And I sat in that program for like 5 weeks and didn't take a step forward. I was so scared. I had all these fears about showing up in this way, this real way, talking to people, sharing my story over the airwaves.
Right.
And I'm sitting here at my desk where I'm at right now one day, and I was just bawling my eyes out, because I was just so sick of not making a step forward. And I was so sick of being scared. And I'm just like, I'm so fucking scared. And I'm like, that's it. Scared as fucking doing it anyway, showing up authentically. And then I had my new name, and then I was able to like march forward. And it's been so much easier since I changed the name. It feels like it's more me.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's so true in
yeah,
all aspects. It's like a lot of us hold ourselves back because we are scared.
yeah,
And, sometimes we have to have that conversation. Like, you can be scared as fuck, but you still got to do it. And I
yeah,
almost feel that way with parenting. It's like when you see your kids struggling, along with yourself, but when you see your kids not wanting to take the step because they're afraid of change or afraid of whatever, it's like, telling them and I do this often, it's like, you just have to stick your toe in. You just have to try it. And if it doesn't feel right when you're in it, then you just take a step back out. Nobody's, it's not quicksand going to pull you under. But if you don't ever take the opportunity to try, you're never going to know. And then you're going to wonder later. And I don't ever want you to have that wonder, like, oh, what if and it's like, so do it anyways. And so now they're a
and
little older.
that was like the story, like that. I used to say that I used to work in corporate America. I worked in corporate America for 26 years. And I would always tell the team, like I led organizations for years and years. And I would always say that to my teams. Oh, well, we have this new process. I'm building a new team. We have to just step our foot in the water. And if it doesn't work, we got to back out and try something else. And I would say that to my teams, and I would do it in work, but I wouldn't do it in my own life. You know,
Right.
I, I mean, I held myself back for, like I said, 30 some years, because I was in fear. So
But the greatest thing about your journey though, and even if it took 35 years, is you still had growth during that time, whether those were dips or highs or lows, or however you want to look at it. Each portion of your journey has brought you where you are. And if you didn't go through those 35 years, you wouldn't be experiencing what you're experiencing now. And so it's again like loving that story of yours and owning it, and then knowing that it doesn't serve you anymore. And so now you have the tools and the capacity to kind of change and reframe and move forward. So I think that's just all amazing. And in life, whether you're working on self, whether you're working on health and wellness from a food perspective, or a wellness perspective as far as yourself and your environment and your relationships and your spirituality and all of that, it all has the same underlying tools that work, which is experimentation in little ways. What works for you isn't going to work for her. And that's why I believe in our society having this diet culture mind, that nobody ever gets really healthy, because we're all just doing what the next person's doing, and it's not serving them the way it needs to be serving them. And so therefore it never stays as a lifestyle, and they've never dealt with all the other things behind it. And so then again, you always revert back to your old ways. It's just without knowledge.
Right. And it's not just about food and exercise, like, they've told us, right? Like
right.
I really was, once I reduced my stress level and I reset my nervous system, then my body was like, okay, we can get rid of some of this weight. And I lost like 70 pounds.
Yeah. And people that haven't had that experience yet find it very hard to actually like believe. And so it's one of those things you just have to sort of trust and try. But when you get your nervous system back in regulation and you're not constantly in fight or flight, your body doesn't have to hold on to things in order to feel like they are in survival. And so when people start to understand when a bear is chasing you, everything's turned off. So it stores everything so that you don't starve to death. But a bear only chases you for so many minutes and you either escape or you're eaten. And so in our society today, people live that chronically, day in, day out, day in, and your body is very wise, but it also thinks you're going to be starving at some point. So it's just holding on to all of that. And you are very, wise in learning that once that stress level is reduced, whatever baggage it is, whether it's weight, whether it's energy feelings, whether it's, happiness, all of it just kind of, is able to fade and allow you to step into who you authentically are. Right.
Yeah. And I mean, like I was in that state that my entire time in corporate America, because I wasn't in the right place. Like I always had low level anxiety. I always had all this stress. It was always harder for me. Like I had to work many more hours than other people around me because, well, that was also my perfectionist and stuff like that, that I was dealing with. But yeah,
just curious, what was the turning point for you to step out of corporate America and do something that was more in line with your authentic self?
Well, I mean, Reiki was a big part of that. And then, getting my life coaching certification, that was also, more awareness, sort of more awakening to really who I am and what I want to do and how I want to serve in this world. And when I came back from that, it was like the gap between me and corporate America, the misalignment just was bigger and bigger and bigger. And I suffered so much every single day. So, I mean, it took me a couple years after Reiki and my coaching training to actually step away from corporate America. But yeah, I mean, when I was, and I was the breadwinner, so there was a lot financially to deal with. We reduced our budget several times. We, talked about selling the house. We're still trying to sell the house actually. And so it was a big deal. But the best thing I've ever done, I mean, but toward the end, I suffered every single day. I cried after work. And finally, I was just like, I have to do it. I just can't do this anymore. I can't, because what you don't change, you choose.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was just, I'm not choosing this anymore. I can't do it. It's not serving me. It's not serving my relationships, my family. I mean, I was, not setting the example I wanted to set for my kids.
Right.
And not choosing me in the way I really needed to do.
Yeah. And I mean, a couple of things that really are standing out is, when we're in something that is not aligned with us any longer or doesn't feel aligned, nobody's telling you have to jump ship the next day, right? You can still stay if that is your financial um, protection or whatnot at that moment, but you have to start finding purpose in your own life and
Yeah.
finding what lights you up and the passions. So while you're in this, job that you might not love and doesn't serve you and isn't going to serve you in the future, it might be a necessity at the moment. So I encourage people to, if you are stuck in a position like that where you can't just jump ship immediately, start working on yourself, start taking those steps to find what lights you up and where your purpose and passion is. And I think as moms, we mom for 18, 19 years, and we do what we need to do to, and I'm not saying we don't find purpose and passion within all of that, but then that suddenly kind of goes away. And then we're left kind of stripped down with nothing and have to re-find ourselves. And so again, if you're someone who's kind of teetering in that stage or phase of life, and, go back to school, find something that, lights you up, find something that's going to bring out your true self. And then in time, that job will just like, what happened to Paula, the job will just kind of be a no, and it will just come to a point where you'll just step away. If you have a different financial situation and you can just step away and it's not serving you and it's making you sick, then that's also an opportunity and a choice you have. But I love your statement. Say that again.
What you don't choose, you change, or what you don't change, you choose.
What you don't change, you choose. I love that. Because I think a lot of people think they don't have choices.
Yeah.
But
And that journey, when I quit, I didn't even know my identity was so tied up in my corporate life, in my title, in my status, in how much money I made, all that crap. And, I didn't really know who I was with all that stuff. So it was freaking scary. It's like, okay, well, who am I? So I just started asking myself that question. Who am I really? Like, I've told myself for all these years, this is who I am and this is how I feel and this is what I think. But really, when I sit down and get quiet with myself and I go into my heart, what do I feel? What's my heart desires? What lights me up? And then that's what I started doing. And I just started experimenting, with, okay, well, it feels like this today. So does that feel right? Is that really who I am? And so it was scary. I mean, I didn't know who I was with all of that ego and all that stuff. So don't be scared.
One of the things you just said though is, you were caught up in something. And that is because that is what society tells us, that in order to be successful, you have to have this name and you have to make this much and you have to own this and and it's like all these things that have been laid upon us externally, which has fogged the internal stuff. And
Absolutely.
so when you get to a certain age, I feel like that wisdom of experience, wisdom of life and all, you start to kind of like have the ability to push the cobwebs if you choose, right? And you can push those cobwebs away to then go back home and figure out who you actually want to be or who you are meant to be. Because I do feel like God gives us all a purpose and gives us certain, gifts. And so sometimes we don't even know what those gifts are because we've been so busy living somebody else's life.
Right. I mean, I had all the things they say should make you happy. I mean, I even say that, I think, in my trailer, and, I had all but I felt deeply unfulfilled.
Right.
And so, yeah, it is a journey. And you know what I love is you just mentioned, that when you get of a certain age, you start sort of digging and having some of this wisdom and realizing some of this stuff. What I love is seeing the younger people doing it. Like I'm seeing
earlier.
I was just at a sound healing certification training, and there were these people in their 20s and in their 30s, like realizing this now. And I'm like, yes, we need more people realizing this now. And I love it. Like, I'm a little bit jealous because it took me so long, but I'm so, so happy that others are finding it earlier.
But your wisdom and your experience is one that you should be sharing with this younger generation that is dipping their toe in earlier, because they need to see why it's important to do the work now.
Yes.
I have two girls, and, they were my main drive of getting on board with this whole wellness and like holistic and really understanding that our body could heal ourselves. And when they had ailments, finding different, you know, Eastern modalities to help them because Western wasn't helping. And there's always a place for medication and things like that. But our body is really, really cool, and it can do things on its own when we give it half a chance. So learning all of that is really what pushed me. I was always health conscious, but it pushed me in a direction of seeing life differently and seeing professions and people. And they're just professions and people. They don't know everything. We know ourselves best. And we know our children best. And then that shows our children how to have a voice. And that was my main thing with my kids, is like, we have to do what's best for us and use our voice to stand up for what we know our bodies need. And now they're a little bit older, and I see, are they perfect? Absolutely not. Do they have ups and downs? Absolutely. But what they're doing now is what I did in my 40s, and coming into my 50s. So again, like you said, getting them started earlier is just a blessing, really, for themselves and for our world.
We have to do what feels right for us. Like, I don't know how many people I hear say, my doctor won't listen to me. Yeah. I've done this and this and that. And they keep saying, oh, you still have to take this drug for high blood pressure or whatever it is. And it's like, no, because Western medicine does everything in isolation, right? Even when they're studying drugs and whatever it is, parts of the body, they're doing it all in isolation versus looking at the whole, right? And we all have a feeling of what feels right for us. It's our intuition, and our body
gut feeling.
To us. It's either our gut, it's either a whisper in our ear, it's in our heart, something that tells us, yeah, that feels right, or nah, that doesn't feel right. It's just like when you meet somebody, right, for the first time, and it's that, oh, I really like this person, and I feel like we have a connection, or no, this person really isn't for me. It's the same with everything, including our health and what doctors may or may not be telling us, or whatever authority might be telling us. So I'm with you on the holistic approach and having our own voice and our own, agency in making decisions. We might sometimes go to a Western medical doctor to get a diagnosis, and then we go to mom's oil cupboard and my oils book to look things up. And we're using healthier products and non-toxic products to deal with that.
Yeah, that's a whole nother like beast of a conversation that we could go down a huge tangent. But the understanding of toxicity in products, because we can't control all things in our environment, but in our products, we definitely have the choice. People just need to be educated on how to read labels and avoid very basic things. But those very basic things are in 90% of conventional products. So it's a very easy, quick scan. You don't have to know all the gigantic words. It's like 4 or 5 words that will stand out to you and will tell you that it is, if you want to know the science, an endocrine disruptor, an immune suppressant, like there are things that you can, but if you're not really into that and you just want to know, should I use it? Shouldn't I use it? There are tricks and like a few things to avoid.
The whole like non-toxic product thing for me made a huge difference. Like when I changed what I was using in my laundry. I make my own fabric softener. And I use a very clean detergent from the place where I buy my essential oils. And when I changed the lotion I put on my skin and the stuff I was using for cleanser on my face and my moisturizer, like all of the products, the stuff I use in the dishes and in the dishwasher, all of it, when I made those changes, like my body felt different. It was not only what I was putting in my mouth, right? Because we started eating all organic and whole foods and got rid of all the processed stuff. And that was one sort of level of layer, right? And then like it was all the products in the house, like even shampoo, and part of my mission there was to get rid of all the plastic, but also to find the non-toxic products. But literally, like then, because I always used to be a big drinker too, and when I changed the food, right, the organic food, and then the products I was putting all over my body, when I drank even a glass of wine, I would feel the toxicity in my body essentially because I had taken it out of place else.
Yeah.
And
That's so interesting.
yeah, I mean, I'm really in tune with my body. Like I knew I was pregnant one day after we had sex, but when I had my second child, so I'm really in tune with my body. So that's, probably maybe an extreme example, but like I could feel
I
it.
mean, I agree. I mean, the fragrances for me, I mean, I can smell a synthetic fragrance from a mile away and
Oh
literally
my
get a
gosh.
headache in like 5 seconds.
Me
And
too.
the thing that I feel most compelled to do is educate because people don't know what they don't know. But the word fragrance can carry thousands of chemicals because our FDA doesn't regulate squat and they don't have to put it on the label. So it could say, and there's so much greenwashing. I mean, it could say this is an organic, holistic home, whatever they like homeopathy, whatever. And it still has perfume in it or perfume or fragrance. And when you're looking at your stuff, I always tell people pick the main things. Like shampoo is a great way to start because it's something that goes directly. All products, your skin is your largest organ, so all products go directly into your bloodstream.
Yeah.
So thinking in that mentality, it's like shampoo could be first, deodorant could be second because those are very important areas. And then, like you said, your laundry detergent, if you think about it, you wear your clothes all day long, you sleep in your bed 8 hours a night or more. You're inhaling all of the scents, that make yourself smell good. And you're also providing a lot of toxins that you're inhaling. And when you inhale them, where do they go? They go to your lungs, they go into your internal. People have allergies, there are correlations between everything. So again, if you're somebody listening to this and you've never thought about products, shampoo is a great place to start. Deodorant's a great place. Detergent, dishwashing, stuff is a great place. And 20 years ago, when I first started on this, there was not a lot of opportunities for for changing and swapping. And I will say with due diligence and people coming on board, there are more companies that are wanting to do good, but you still have to look at your ingredients because even those companies that want to do good, if they can find a little way around saving $1, they're going to.
Yep. Yep. And we see that all the time. And in the big companies who, are doing their old thing and the new, sort of organic, cleaner thing, you really got to read their labels because might be some BS in there.
Yeah. And to me, if you were somebody who was once, I think it was Tom, and I could be wrong, so don't quote me on this, anybody listening, but I think it was Tom's toothpaste. That was a very small family owned company that then sold out to Colgate. And once you sell out to a company like that, forget it. They're going to cut corners wherever, keeping your brand and your supposed good stuff, but they're going to squeak in things where they can to make it less expensive to make more money.
Yeah.
So again, you have to know your facts. You got to be wise. You got to research a little bit. But the best thing is there are swaps. And that's the most refreshing things because again, years ago I think Shackley was one of the first things that I ever saw. And Method this was again 20 years ago when I had to switch everything in our home because one of our daughters had some kind of an allergy where they said get rid of all scents. And so I thought Method, oh, this is great. It's so blah, blah, blah. And I didn't know anything about ingredient reading. So I had been using, which again, it's better than some of the conventional, but I was so angry that I had been getting duped for the year, and it's like California Baby was the same thing. It was like, I'm sitting here lathering my kid thinking these $12 bottles of goodness are good. And it turned out it wasn't good at the time. They could have reformulated at this point. I don't have any babies, so I'm not really looking at those ingredients at this moment, but yeah. So lots to learn, but little tiny pieces at a time. And starting with self-love and self-care, I still feel like is the ultimate first step because without any of that, I don't know how authentic change can happen that can last.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. It all starts there. And I'm a believer that, there aren't many problems that aren't love problems in some way, shape, or form. It all goes back to love in some way.
I love that quote too. You got some good ones. Let's go back to your podcast. What can we expect from the podcast?
Oh gosh. You can expect to be hearing other people's stories who are, their authenticity journeys. Some people have had these things, where they weren't living authentically. And then they had some sort of a transition or transformation that has, caused them to make changes and walk more authentically on the earth. And then some people, it just comes naturally too. And so, we'll be hearing stories on both sides. We'll be hearing me telling a little bit of my story. A lot of my story probably over time. I'm an open book. Tools and practices to, help people along the way. And, I really like hearing from people too and getting feedback about what they want to hear about. So that I can, direct things to what people need help with, what obstacles they might be going through, what questions they have, what they want to hear more about. But really it's for people who have all the things they say should make you happy, but you still feel unfulfilled. It's for people always doing what they should do. And I'm doing air quotes rather than what really feels right for them. It's about overachievers trying to prove their worth through productivity and accomplishments, because that was me for so long. And it does creep even back in sometimes now. So it's all about helping people find self-love and walking on this earth in their most authentic way.
Yeah, I love that.
Finding
it's going to
themselves.
be great. I can't wait to hear it and listen to it. So again, we'll drop all of this in the show notes so you can find Paula, you can find her podcast. But before we end, I always like to ask all my guests for a couple of non-negotiables. So from a standpoint of a daily life, what do you do daily that helps you to live your best, most well-rounded, authentic life?
Okay, so I would say when I wake up in the morning, before I even open my eyes, I say, this is going to be a great day. And I think about all the things that are going to be great. I also have an appreciation practice, and it's not just listing off, oh, I'm grateful for this, or I appreciate this. It's picking a few things, and really focusing on my deep appreciation for them. And that might even just be how comfortable my bed feels and how good the sheets feel on my skin. It might be about something about my kids, my day, whatever, about something going on in my life. And then I meditate every morning. And it is a non-negotiable. I have to meditate, because when I don't, I notice the difference. I am a different person if I don't meditate. And so that was one of the best pieces of advice I ever got in my life, was when someone told me to have a daily spiritual practice. 10 minutes of meditation will change your life. And it took me over 2 years to actually get consistent with it. And now it's every day. And even if it's not first thing in the morning, I still find time for it, mid-morning or whatever. And then I would say rest. And that's a big one for me, because for most of my life, as I said, I was trying to prove my worth through productivity. And so I didn't rest. I would not sit down and rest at all. And then by the time I sat down, I would just be asleep. And so rest is something that I give myself every day now. And so those are my non-negotiables.
That's awesome. Rest is a gift for sure. And it's hard when you're not somebody who's used to sitting still and just being. It's a really hard thing to get comfortable with. But if you could even just rest for like 1 quiet minute, if you're not a meditator, just sitting in silence with your eyes closed. And I wanted to go back to what Paula said about waking up in the morning, because my daughter, who is learning on her own, had brought to my attention that the first few minutes when you wake up, when you're not fully awake, you're still in your subconscious mind. And so all of the things that you say to yourself actually carry through with you throughout the day before you come into that, full conscious awakeness. So if you do nothing else from this podcast, tomorrow morning when you wake up, try it out when you're first just kind of opening those eyes, but not truly, truly awake. Think about things that you are, grateful for, but in the way Paula said, not just listing them off, really having that moment to sit and think about it. And one of the things that popped in my mind when you just said that was taking those moments, right? And we rush through our days and all of that. And the other day I was in that mode of just like, I had a million things I had to do and whatever. And so I was folding laundry in a very hurried, kind of angrily fashion. I wasn't really like, and I just said, what, stop. And so I just took a couple of deep breaths and I just said, you're missing the point here. Like you're missing this opportunity to feel something. And what I felt, which just kind of came up because I did stop and take a breath, was, those towels signified that, we are clean people, that we, had the ability to shower, that my kids were home, that our house was full, that the dog was here, and all of those things. So that experience of like frustration and just like, turned into like really being grateful for the laundry being done. So it is those little tiny things that's what we're saying to you guys who are listening. It's the mundane little tiny things that are actually going to create the practices to create your most authentic self.
Yeah. And feeling into it is really important, not just thinking, right? Dropping into your heart and feeling. And I could totally relate because my daughter's home from college right now and she leaves dishes everywhere and messes and all this stuff. And I look at it and I go, I love this because she's not always home. She's not always
here messing up.
I love being able to clean up after her while she's here.
Aw. Yeah. The college age thing is an interesting journey, right? It's being an empty nester is got its challenges, but it's also super exciting, I think, for them. So it makes me excited inside for what I'm seeing her, be able to accomplish. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
well, I thank you so much for coming on. And if you have tuned into this episode, thank you for taking the time out of your day. And I really, truly hope that when you walk away from today, that you have found at least one or two little things that you might be able to try on for yourself that might become, your non-negotiable, or create a 1% shift for yourself, ultimately to get you to the life that you desire. And if you need to reach Paula, all that will be in the show notes so you guys can hop on and check her out. So thank you guys so much for joining. And thank you, Paula. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Robin.
Have a good day.
You too.
I love talking with Paula, and got a couple of takeaways that I wanted to talk to you guys about. The first one is listening to your intuition, trusting your gut feelings and your intuition, not only in decision making, but also when it comes to your health. We really emphasized using your intuition to help you make choices that align with your personal values and your well-being, because again, we are truly the only people that can make choices for ourselves. Number 2, choose non-toxic and organic products. We talked about switching some of your main products like body products, shampoo, deodorant, laundry detergent, as the top 3 that we suggest to start with when you're just getting started out, but knowing what's in your ingredients, really taking the time to educate yourself, because these products go directly into your bloodstream and can affect your health. Awareness regarding synthetic fragrance. We talked about what fragrance and perfume and then them being an endocrine disruptor. So again, making sure that you are understanding what you're choosing and to bring into your home and also to put on your body. Number 3, practice self-care and appreciation. Incorporate daily non-negotiables into your routine, such as a morning affirmations, deep appreciation for positive aspects of life, and even meditation. Paula shared these practices as a foundational elements of self-love, personal growth, and overall well-being, and these are some of the things that helped her on her healing journey. And number 4, explore holistic health and wellness. Consider adopting, a more of a holistic approach when you are looking at your health and wellness by advocating for yourself, because remember, you know yourself best. Knowing yourself and understanding what works and doesn't work for you will be your best tool that you will have for your forever to keep yourself well, happy, and healthy. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please go also take a listen to Paula's podcast, Scared as Fuck and Doing It Anyways, because she's going to have some really good conversations on there that I think you guys will be able to get some great takeaways from. So until next time, have a great day. thanks for tuning in today. I loved being here with you. I hope that you got something from today's episode. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. Drop a comment below, and if you feel led to, download the episode and share it with someone you love that needs to hear this message. As we continue to spread the goodness of this podcast, I'd love for you to help us by leaving a review on Apple Podcast or a rate on Spotify. As we increase listeners, we will come up more often when women are searching for podcasts to listen to. To stay connected with me, you can check out my social media pages at Live Life Balanced with Robin. You can check out my website at livelifebalancedwithrobin.com. You can book a discovery call. And if you're looking for a way to get started right now, you can opt in for my new quick guide for the empty nester refresh. You can join my wait list for my new course, It's Your Time, which is going to be launching soon, which I'm super excited about. And as always, thank you for letting me be part of your day. It truly means a lot that you're allowing me to be on your wellness journey with you. Until next time, find peace, love, and light by breathing, being present, and allowing for all possibilities to happen.